All right, as we get ready for the Libra Ring of Fire, let's do a CIRF report. This is Wednesday, the 11th of October, 2023, for the next week, October 12th through October 18th, and we do have a solar eclipse. Let's go surfing with my nice Libra coffee cup that says kindness counts. That's what makes it Libra, because it's all about kindness and togetherness, interpersonal work, and getting along and peace and beauty. All right, so here's our overview slide, and there's a lot more than just this Ring of Fire, new moon, solar eclipse in Libra. There's a lot more aspects in the astrology that we'll talk about, but most notably, it's over the South Node, so the past will be a big part of this eclipse. And we have Mercury combust, we have Pluto switching directions, a lot of big energies this week, not just the eclipse. But we know that it's overlapped very strongly, highly congruent. Our graph here is showing a very tight congruency score. We have the I-Ching as clinging like fire. I mean, that's just the annular solar eclipse. But when we read I-Ching 30, you're going to see it's a very strong Libra flair to it. So I thought that was both symbolic in the imagery, clinging like fire, with the solar eclipse. But then you read about I-Ching 30, it's the interpersonal work. And then the Dreambot, man, that's an interesting one. And it's definitely about the Libra new moon solar eclipse all in one. I can't wait to show you that one. What else? It's all big. Let's do this. And congratulations to Together We Are Wand. Best comment of the week. Big shout out. And love to you, dear sweet brother. Love to you, sweet sister. And speaking of sister, I have a blood sister who is having a birthday this week. So shout out to her. And that's on the 13th. We have a lot of people in our lives that are having birthdays on the 13th, Friday the 13th. Also, shout out to Bill Effin Murray for a great insight and a good conversation over in the comments about maybe seeing these energies or feeling these energies a little bit earlier. Not uncommon for me as well, but I could probably do a whole separate show on this topic alone. I put this energy chart up at the top because I noticed that I kept forgetting about it because it's the last thing I do before the CIRF reports, and it's sort of embedded down below. So I put it up top. The cat's out of the bag. We got the annular solar eclipse in Libra, and that's the biggest energy. And that's going to hit midday on Saturday for us here in the States. In that time zone, central time zone, around 1 p.m. And so the height of this, now some people say that the effects of the eclipses are more like a week before and a week after. So there's that. Maybe there shouldn't be this big incline and decline, but I don't consider that. I tried to make that a minimum, but now that we blow it up, it looks bigger than what I intended. But nonetheless, its climax is there on the weekend. Now, of course, the eclipse cycle is resetting with this new moon solar eclipse. And so it's replacing what we were working towards in the last 6 months, which was Aries and inner warrior and identity kind of work. And now we're going into more interpersonal stuff with Libra, finding peace, finding harmony, diplomacy over the next 6 months is the focus. All right, let's go into the Dreambot. I will zoom in for you. And all these red arrows, think of this as the twilight's last gleaming. Here's why, because there's glow and lamp. There's light. So light at the end of the tunnel maybe, but there's the word apocalypse is still there. So it's like, and I could go like last week where there's devastating words, and there's also like uplifting words. I'm just combining them together, going, hey, the light is glowing from the apocalypse. So it looks like the end, possibly. And then think about Twilight's last gleaming is sort of the words that I pick up in this run. I have a linguistic set that says normally carrying, stabilize, and you could read into that what I'm thinking there because I don't want to put words to it. So anyway, transform is up there, flu is up there, but transform and all sorts of like history is in there. So past repeats to present, and that matches with the South Node effect on the eclipse. There's a lot to this run. All right, let's get into the astrology of it all. Here is our big cycle. We're starting a new eclipse cycle. This in Libra, October 14th. And every one of these subsets, these new moons, like for example, the next one, November 13th, is going to be in Scorpio. So our Scorpio cycle will help us with the overall cycle of Libra and all things Libra. Then ironically, we move back to an Aries cycle on April 8th, 2024 with another eclipse in the continental United States. Now, I've said, I've said that twice. The visible portion of the eclipse for the next two new moons, the next two new moon solar eclipses will be in the United States, but the effects will be worldwide. Right? That's very important. The energy of it does not have to be seen to be appreciated or felt. All right, so still have a lot of those planets in retrograde, but remember at the end of last week, we were looking at Pluto station and going direct. That's going to be on 12 October at 8 p.m. or thereabouts. I mean, this planet's so slow anyway, it's going to get out of that station location. Going to take a while because it's such a far out planet. But it's going to be direct through most of this week. Then on the 13th, we have an exact on Mars trine Saturn. We'll spend some time on that because that'll be a big influence on the solar eclipse on the 14th in Libra. The corollary eclipse here is going to be in Taurus. That's the full moon. Lunar eclipse. It's going to be in the middle of the afternoon, Central Time, 3:23 p.m. on the 28th. And big changes for ego this week. As you can see, the inconjunct on the sun with Uranus, that peaks at the 15th. So a lot of big energies this week. I mean, any one of these could have been the biggest influence had it not been for the eclipse. So big energy. Here we go. Mars now, before we start this Thursday, the 12th, Mars will have already entered into Scorpio because you can see here at 8:12 p.m., Mars has already crested into homeland. He rules Scorpio, one of the rulers there, squared off to the other ruler, but that is aging out. That square there puts pressure on power and produces power struggles, as we've noted, but that is aging out. And so what you're gonna see is more of an effect on this trine over to Saturn of challenge and limitations, but Mars is home. Mars is not weakened anymore. It's at full strength. And now we can get obsessive. We can get passionate, very big passion about, maybe conquering challenges. Easy to conquer challenges. Easy to conquer limitations, possibly, with this alignment. Getting stronger throughout the week, by the way. Pluto is direct now. That's at 27 degrees and 54 minutes. And the moon entering Libra. This is let's see, I can't remember what I put as the exact point here. So sorry, I'm not really sure what 812 is. I don't remember. Because Mars is already in Scorpio on the 11th, late at night. So, okay, this is what it is Pluto goes direct. This is the point at which Pluto is direct at 8 p.m., 8:12 p.m. And we also note that the moon has just crested into Libra here on Thursday the 12th in the evening, Central Time. And that's important because this eclipse will be in Libra. So 19 degrees more to go gives us about a day and a half. Less than 2 days, and we will have an eclipse. So then on Friday, the 13th, this is where Mars and Saturn in that trine goes exact. That's at 0 degrees, 55 minutes, respectively, in their water signs. Mars home and Saturn in Pisces. And so that'll be a big energetic effect. Moon at 6 degrees, so we still have some room to go. One of the quotes that I found matches this Mars trine Saturn, and it goes like this: the best magic is in the tasks that you keep putting off, that you don't really want to do, but you need to. There's a magic in those. And that's what this energy is. It will be easy to just obliterate these challenges. So looking forward to that. Now we get into Saturday the 14th, and we zoom into 12:55 p.m., so 5 minutes before 1 o'clock here in the Central Time Zone. And the moon that is further out in its orbit will be circumference will be seeming smaller than the sun, i.e. making an annular solar eclipse at this time. Now, at this sequence, depending on where you are, you may or may not be able to see a perfect annular eclipse. And I have a chart for this so you can see. Again, this is all in the United States. So it starts in with Oregon and then just comes down southeast on this path. This is the 100% annular solar eclipse. You'll see the ring of fire. Now by the way, this line here, I had to look on Google Earth, but it is just north of Area 51. I thought that was pretty interesting. Unfortunately, it doesn't go right over it, but it is close to being right under the path of this eclipse. Now, if you're in other time zones, so let's say that you're in East Texas, let's say that's going to be about an 80%, and it would look like this. So let me zoom in. 80% looks like this. 70% looks like this. And it goes all the way down to a 10%. Here's a 10%. Oh, you can't even see that. Here. There's your 10%. Okay. Fumbling around here. If you're up in Maine and Boston, you're still going to have some portion of that annular eclipse. If you're in California, you're going to see more like a 60 to 70%. And then in Phoenix, about a 70%. So you can look at this chart and see where you are. I would imagine just looking at like a 70% is about where we're going to be. And that's not too bad. It's worth looking up in the sky. Now you need to have your glasses on, even though this is being blocked. They say that you can really damage your eyes with the sun basically directly overhead. It's going to be very intense. You can do the shadow box. I remember doing that as a kid. I can't remember what year that was, but you put a little pinhole on one side of the box and it will shine kind of like a pupil onto the back, and you can look at the annular shadow basically on the other side of the shadow box. All right, some cool things there. And so be careful though with your eyes. Incidentally, I did do a sunlight as food sort of protocol, but you don't do that. You don't look into the sun unless it's in the early sunrise or the very late sunset. And I found some good results from that. But other than that, I would not look at the sun. It can damage your eyeballs. All right. New moon is at 21 degrees of Libra, 8 minutes, 12:55 p.m. Central Daylight Savings Time. Make sure you check your individual times and places where you can best look at this. Again, sun being, pretty much up in the sky, at least in my location. Some of you, the sun will be even higher. Some will be lower on the horizon. But generally, if you're in the United States, it should be directly overhead. Okay, now let's look at all the other things that we imprint on this energy that's going to affect us for the 30-day cycle for Libra and also the 6-month cycle. One of those things is a square off to Pluto. I start with this because Pluto is direct. You can see he's moved 1 degree forward in a direct motion, but it's a square off to that. So there's some power and control. There's a pressure to be powerful, pressure to control. There's a pressure to transform and all that. So that makes this a very transformative period, both in this 30-day cycle and the 6-month cycle. And then we have Mars is the gift of powerful yang towards any challenges in this eclipse cycle. And one of those challenges is that Pluto. Another challenge is just the change, the drastic fast change with Uranus in conjunct. That's closer. So that's going to be more prominent than this Pluto alignment. But you're going to see massive changes over the course of the 6 months. And one of those changes is in technology. Technology is symboled by Uranus, big insights, rebelliousness. All these things are making the ego and the Libra nature of this energy is having to adapt to that. So we have to maintain Libra things like diplomacy, interpersonal skills, relating to others, despite all these changes happening. These in conjunct is an adaptation. Relationships continue to face challenges as well, but this is aging out. It's the Venus opposed Saturn. So it's a 5-degree orb. We have Mercury in combust, so things don't seem very rational. It's a weak in logic. That doesn't bode well for the way we think. What we expect from logic and reason is not going to be nearly as what we want. And then the biggest news is this south node. So the past is going to instruct us towards balance. It's going to give us insights about justice, peace, and harmony. Diplomacy. Here's one more thing about just the Libra nature of this is that we don't really need or yearn for diplomacy if everything's going well. If everyone is understanding each other and communicating effectively, well, there's really no reason to yearn for diplomacy. So that sort of implies that there's a lot of this residue from the Aries cycles that we've had. And as we approach another Aries cycle later in April 2024, that's can be very conflicting. And so the behaviors of a lot of people are going to be contentious, going to be defensive. And so that's what has us focus on these balance, justice, peace, harmony, interpersonal charm is in there. Just getting along. Just get along and balance. So then we move on after the eclipse. On Sunday, you've got the moon and Mars together. So this very, very emotionally passionate, pressured to get started on your Libra goals. By the way, yes, we are in an eclipse cycle, but we're also in that new moon. So there's a couple of goals to make. We'll get to this in the solution, but I want you to get your juices flowing here, thinking about your Libra goals. All right, both for the 30-day cycle, that would be about the next 2 to 3 weeks. You want to get those absolutely complete before the last quarter moon. That's going to be in roughly 3 weeks from Saturday the 14th. That'll put us well into the first week of November. So those Libra goals, so focusing on more of the interpersonal skills and diplomacy, negotiation might be a good one. Mediation might be a good one. If you've thought about resolving a past conflict, this would be a really valiant objective. For those more difficult ones, you may need the 6-month goal there, but all those Libra things are on the shelf here. Now, you don't have to finish all of them. Just pick a goal or two that you can get done in about 2 to 3 weeks and set your sights on how to finish those. So now on Sunday, the 15th, you can take this emotional passion that you have and drive, especially because it's willing to face those challenges with Saturn. You got a lot of power here, so you can channel those towards, in the Scorpio passion, channel those towards your Libra goals that you just identified the day prior. Lots of changes for ego. And then on Monday, the focus here is the waxing crescent moon. And so we're gathering materials, we're getting materials set aside, or you're getting more concrete plans in your mind about how you're going to carry out your Libra goals. But as far as carrying them out, you can start maybe a little bit, but just more of preparation kind of stuff. Like, for example, if you're trying to mediate an age-old conflict that has a good chance of succeeding in the next 2 to 3 weeks, you might reach out and set a date for maybe a week and a half to 2 weeks out, maybe just before the full moon eclipse, and that's in Taurus. Maybe just before then, so that you can focus in on that full moon. Maybe a celebration is a perfect time to have at the full moon, especially an eclipse. And then Venus has, the challenges with Saturn are aging out. And the Virgo has a trine over to Jupiter. So this is really going to start to feel a lot more optimistic after all those challenges that we've had relationally. Now we've got the Libra influence, the Libra goals. And so those become heightened, and that is always resolving interpersonal conflicts. But we also have this optimism coming from it. So almost immediately into our new moon cycle, this is going to be refreshing, especially to the Venus and to relationships. Might bring a lot of hope. So Tuesday, the 17th, we have about 2 degrees of combust. We don't have the cazimi until about the 20th. That's Mercury, by the way, Mercury cazimi. And that's where Mercury and the Sun are within 17 minutes, so very, very close. And that will be a heightened sense of accelerated understanding, logic, everything Mercury, being able to communicate insights through the roof during that time. But otherwise, we're in a combust state, so very weakened mind, very weakened rational, and now pressured by Pluto. So controlled, feeling pressured to control. So there's that control continuum happening by the squares by Tuesday the 17th. by the way, this in conjunct here with at 22 degrees of Libra is in conjunct with Neptune. So now there's some adaptability and confusion, lots of confusion, mentally, logical confusion. Fantasy might be trying to rationalize something that doesn't even exist. That's happening a lot lately. Wednesday, the 18th, not even at the first quarter moon yet. So still just planning, prepping. Now we're in Sag. So Sag just really wants to get the foot on the accelerator. That's not wrong. We're getting close, especially if there's some bigger goals that you wanted to achieve within that 2 to 3 weeks. It could be time to start those. Why not? You got the energy for it. Just watch out for trying to control with Pluto, the ego and the Mercury, both in that control continuum. So watch out trying to control the other. We don't want to do that. We want to mediate. We want to improve understanding across interpersonal aspects of our life, which will create very big optimism, synchronicity with Venus trine Jupiter. So put those into synergistic form and do that. All right, let's get into the I-Ching. It's hexagram 30, clinging like fire. Flames hang on to their fuel in order to keep fire burning. We're going to have a sense of burning, a fire, ring of fire. This is the snapshot on Saturday, early afternoon Central Time, is that annular solar eclipse, ring of fire. That's the metaphor, but it's as above, so below. So for the next 6 months, this fire will be burning for all things interpersonal. So here we go. Everything that radiates light or love is dependent on something else. Through the web of our interdependence, we see that everything is related. Each thing to the other. Awareness of your attachment to other people is key. That opens the door to knowing your true place in the world. No human is an island. And isn't that just very Libra? When awakening to a new day, some concentration is necessary so that your central tasks are not obscured by a frenzied activity. It is at the beginning that one needs to compose oneself. And line 3, at the beginning here, we're talking about the new moon cycle. That's pre-first quarter moon. It's also the eclipse cycle starting. At the end of the day, the setting sun calls to mind impermanence and the transitory nature of all existence. This is very, very symbolic. A line 3 is very symbolic of when the moon eclipses the sun energy at the time of the new moon eclipse, the new moon eclipse. Transition to the solution. No, let's not yet. Let's go here. And let's summarize the influence, obviously. So from October 12th through the 18th, the big dominant, there's a lot of energies. The big dominant one is the Libra solar eclipse. The ring of fire in tropical Libra becomes the undisputed dominant energy for the week and creates a Libra canvas on which the collective will paint for the next 6 months. The 6-month painting will end up showing strong collective yearning towards diplomacy, objectivity, peace, balance, interpersonal charm, and justice. Justice and all things Libra. The eclipse activity hovers over the south node, so past learning, karmic patterns, and old commitments will be rekindled during this 30-day new moon cycle and the 6-month eclipse cycle. And so we'll be instructing. The past will instruct us for the future. All right, now let's transition to the solution. Well, this is nice. 35, hexagram 35 says easy progress. And if we look at the words on here that have to do with action and behavior, we get this. Be reminded that progress is achieved most effortlessly when right action is taken without concern for immediate reward, and when the path of the weaker aligns with that which is strong. It's the path of least resistance behaviorally that you're going to be looking for, but with the mindset of doing right action all the time. And again, this is not just for this week, this hexagram 35, but it paints that picture for the next 6 months because of the eclipse cycle. All right, to complete our solution, we need to convert. We're going to convert from tropical, which was at 20. This is the eclipse, 21 degrees, 8 minutes of Libra, puts us at hexagram 32 in the rave, and it actually gives us sidereal Virgo. And remember, we're trying to get the behaviors for this new moon cycle, specifically for this week, but also for the undertow or the basis, the foundation of our behavior for the next 6 months. Hexagram 32 is duration. It says keep on going. The only thing which endures is change. Line 1 says conservation. This is where the eclipse is in the rave. Line 1, observation. A life-sustaining respect and attention to all aspects of a process. The potential to develop the instinct through detailed attention to a process. If this sounds like Virgo to you, then you can already see how tight the overlap is for our solution. So let's do it. Let's slide over to the solution. All right, now here is what we're triangulating for the solution. Remember, we have easy progress in I-Ching 35. It talks about doing right action, doing the right thing when no one is watching. And we have the rave. It's attention to detail. These are all the things of Virgo. Sidereal placement of the Ring of Fire this week is in Sidereal Virgo. So it's an extremely tight overlap. We had an extremely tight overlap for the influence, which was the Ring of Fire in Libra. And now our solution, our behaviors, are very tightly wound around Virgo. So here we go. We have an unprecedented level of congruence in both our influence and solution-focused sources. The annular solar eclipse resides in Sidereal Virgo, which means you will see the most success and return on investment of your energy by behaving with all things Virgo: discrimination, integrity, responsibility, attention to detail, and hard work. But over the next 6 months. But I want to stress now, because we have been working very hard. We've had a strong Virgo influence for quite some time now. And so now the backdrop to our behaviors, our mindset for how to act is going to be right action and hard work. But I think we're going to see a switch to more abstract things as we get into more of Libra goal sets. Okay. I don't want to be too confusing here, but I know that a lot of people, a lot of astrologers refuse to acknowledge that you can use both the tropical and the sidereal. We've been doing this successfully for quite some time, and there's value in both systems. So we're doing that now. So according to the I-Ching, the only way to see easy progress is to always do right action. And the rave says that durability is maximized by conserving attention to all aspects of the process. It's attention to detail. At the time of the eclipse, remember to set your tropical Libra goals for the 30-day and 60-month cycle, 6-month cycles. But as you start behaving and actually doing, as you do your goals, you're going to do so with Sidereal Virgo, the I-Ching 35, and the Rave 32 line 1, all of which encourage right action attention to detail, hard work, responsibility, and discrimination. All right. So it's one thing to have an influence. It's another thing to know how to behave. I hope that has been made very clear. We do this every week. If you're having a problem with that, then I recommend that you go to our intro at our main channel, National Dream Center. And there's that intro video that describes the differences between tropical and sidereal. And I'm making the argument, probably, I'm not the first one, but I'm the first one in action to propose and how to orchestrate understanding what the tropical gives us, i.e., knowing what we're going to feel, knowing what the urges are going to be. But then we have free will for our behavior, for our response, for our reaction. And under that free will, I'm offering a suggestion to use Sidereal Virgo as the way to behave in your mindset going forward. Okay? And that will give you the best success according to all of our triangulated solutions. All right. So I think that covers it. No. We have a rune to discuss. We have 2 runes. And this is brought to you by Intervention Therapy. If you're out of peace and harmony, if you're out of inner peace, go to intervention.com and we'll be able to help you out. All right, here's our runes. Now, for the runes, we are best to take the dominant influence and the dominant solution, and I'm pairing those up. So we have the influence is Gebu. That's the X, and as I was putting the X on there, it had me thinking of Twitter and how they strangely, I haven't gotten an explanation of why they use the X. Could it be this period? I don't know. I think that's far stretched, but whatever. X is all things Libra. It's balance, harmony, partnership, generosity. It's interpersonal diplomacy. It's equality. It's even justice, negotiating, mediating. It's brokering for fair trade. And when I use it, it's going to improve harmony, forming or strengthening relationships, attracting allies, negotiating and compromising. But I also want to make sure that I influence my free will behaviors, make it much more conscious and mindful. I want to do that from a very Virgo standpoint. I don't want it to just be a concept of better harmony. I really want to pay attention to the details. I want to progress through purpose and hard work. So this one is attracting the benefits of Libra, and it's all of its influence, and it's putting a vote into the collective unconscious. And this one is the Awaz is, as I wear it in my beard, it's to remind me to pay attention to the details, continue to work hard, do right action, do what's right, do what you should do. And then keep going. Physical and mental stamina. Don't give up. It's been a long time since we've continuing on this Virgo thing, so it's easy to get overwhelmed, maybe burn out. But we are shifting from the hands-on work that Virgo does, and we're asking you to pay attention to the details and work hard towards interpersonal stuff. So it is a transition in that we are kind of getting out of the earthy kind of work. Not that you can't do earthy work. I'm still going to do my compost and still be catching armadillos that are tearing up my lawn, but shifting over more towards relationships, all right? Because it's the Libra goals. I will use discretion and hard work to manifest my Libra goals, both this week, this month, and over the course of the next 6 months. All right, now that I believe, is it. I will end on this chart so you can snap it for yourself possibly and just kind of see where your annular ring of fire occurs and how strong you'll see it. All right, everybody. Thanks for being here. Enjoy your week, and we'll see you on the other side.